Hi, my name's Sarah. 2020 is almost over, which I'm sure we are all celebrating, but I know we all had some good things that came out of this year too. For me, there was at least 10 books that I absolutely loved and want to talk to you about. As of filming this video, it is December 27th, which does technically mean I could read another book in the next 4 days that should have been on this list. If that does happen, I might insert a little disclaimer explanation here. But as of filming, as of December 27th, 2020, these are my favorite books of 2020. I'm going to start off with my favorite of the whole year, the one I really loved. And that was The Book of Longings by Sue Monk Kidd. I talked about this book back in one of my wrap-ups. If you had told me at the beginning of this year that my favorite book was going to have Jesus as a central character, I would have been extremely skeptical. I would have absolutely not believed you. This book was so special to me. I grew up going to Sunday school and going to a Christian school where I learned all about Jesus and all of that. And I'm gonna say this book is not most people's idea of what his wife would have been like had she existed. But it's exactly who I would like to think of as the wife of Jesus. The main character of this book, Anna, is married to Jesus and she loves Jesus and they are a true husband and wife. They have a very strong relationship. But her life is not just about that. She has these dreams of becoming a writer in a time period where most women did not know how to read, let alone write, let alone become writers. And she's willing to pursue this dream above pretty much everything else. This book, I know this book would not be for everyone. There's probably a lot of people that would not like this portrayal of Jesus and him in a marriage. There's people that would just think it was too slow and not enough plot. And I will say it's not a plot heavy book. It is very character driven, even though there is a lot of interesting plot. If you can hear my dogs breathing, I'm sorry. They are making this a challenge today. And my husband's not home to watch them, so sorry about that. But I loved the writing of this book. I loved the main character, Anna. I thought it was entertaining plot-wise. I just love that this is about a book about a woman, particularly in this time period, that does not want to have children and chooses not to have children very intentionally for very specific reasons. And it is hard to find that in books. You just do not see that. It might be kind of dramatic to use the word representation, but I think it's important for people to be able to, especially young girls, be able to read books and see heroines that are like, you know what, this is what I want my life to be about, not motherhood. And it's just not done enough. And that's a big thing this book has in common with my number 2 choice, which was The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. This book has been hyped up everywhere. Everybody loves this book. I'm basic. I'm not afraid to admit it and say this is one of my favorite books as well. This book is about a woman who chooses to make a deal with a devil-like creature to live forever. And the catch to it is that no one ever remembers her. So as soon as she's like out of someone's line of sight, or as soon as they're not thinking about her, they have completely forgotten she ever exists, even if it's only like a few moments later. She lives for hundreds of years like this before she comes across someone who does remember her. I don't remember if I talked about this in my wrap-up video where I mentioned this book, but a big motivator for Addie to make this decision is that her parents are trying to marry her off to someone with children. She's just horrified by the idea of being tied down in this way to another person, but specifically to motherhood. You know, this is the 1700s when this is taking place. There's no birth control. She knows if she gets married, she's gonna end up having her own children. This guy already has children. There's a part in the book, I don't remember how long she's been in her state. I wanna say it's been a couple of decades at least. The devil-like creature says something to her about how she doesn't regret it. And she realizes it's kind of true, and that even though she has lost basically connection to human beings, when she pictures what her life would have been like if she had stayed and married this man and become a mother to his children and had more children herself, that thought is still like horrifying to her. Again, there is just not enough of this in literature, of women that do not want to become mothers, like strongly. And that's not the only thing that's good about this book. This book, the main draw is the writing. The writing is absolutely gorgeous. It's maybe slower plot-wise. We follow Addie for a long time, and a lot of times she's not really doing all that much. She's just kind of experiencing her life from her interesting perspective. This was a great book, and I did not expect to love it. I did not particularly like the other V.E. Schwab book that I have read, but this one was amazing. I really loved this book. My next favorite, this is my favorite thriller of the year, was Lock Every Door by Riley Sager. This was the first Riley Sager book I've read, and it's my favorite. It has remained my favorite, even if I've as I've read all the other ones that he's written. I actually am kind of hopeful that his book coming out next year might even top this one because it sounds amazing and I'm super looking forward to it. But as of right now, Lock Every Door is my favorite Riley Sager. It's about a woman who is apartment sitting in this kind of mysterious building, and they're paying her like exorbitant amounts of money to just live in this apartment building, except like she can't have anyone over and she has to stay every night there. There's like all these extra rules, but all this weird stuff starts happening while she's living there, and she realizes that other apartment sitters have disappeared, and she starts investigating why. It's just a good thriller. It fooled me. Like, the twist got me. It did. It's an easy read. The writing is good. The story is good. It's just all around a really good thriller. And I've been very into mystery thrillers this year. I think I've got kind of 3, possibly 4 if you stretch on this list. It's just what I've loved, and this was my favorite of the bunch. So check it out if you have not already. My next book on this list is Just Mercy. I've talked quite a bit about this book in my last 2 videos, so I don't want to get too much into it. If you want to read one nonfiction book this upcoming year, I would recommend this one. It's a good read. It's engrossing. It will change your opinion on the death penalty. Like, you will not be able to look at it the same way again. And I say this as a person that went into this book pretty much decided that I wasn't really, I don't think the death penalty is a good idea. I don't think we should do it. But this book gives you a whole new way of looking at it. And I think this should be required reading for all Americans because it's just really good. If you have not yet read this, please do. Number 5 on my list is The Hate U Give. This is a YA book, but again, this is another one. I feel like everybody should read this book. This is about a young woman who is out with a friend one night. They are both Black, and she witnesses her friend be shot and killed by the police when they were pulled over, even though he didn't do anything. This book is extremely readable. It's sad, it's heartbreaking in parts. It's so good. It's hard to pinpoint exactly what I liked about it, but I really liked the way she went with it. That she took this kid that's killed, and he's a close friend of the main character, but after he's killed, it's revealed that I believe he at one point was selling drugs. That's like what the media and the police like latch on to. And I like that she did that because it allows her to like put the story out there like, okay, this kid did sell drugs. I don't think he was at the time when he was killed, but he had in the past, like, he has done things that are illegal, you know, as we all have to some degree in our life. Like, everyone's sped while driving in their car or taking an illegal turn or something. So we have all broken the law at some point. She puts it out there. She's like, okay, this kid has done illegal things. What the fuck does that have to do with him being shot and killed by the police on this random night when he was doing nothing wrong? It's YA, but I think anyone can read this and enjoy it. Highly recommend if you have not already read this book. And the other YA book on my list is The Last True Poets of the Sea. This is one I haven't seen a lot of people talk about. I believe I got the recommendation from this from Books and Lala. But other than that, I really haven't seen any videos of anyone else mentioning it or really seen it on Bookstagram or anything like that. But this is about a woman who, her younger brother has recently attempted suicide, and she was just kind of going wild in New York City. Her parents are super overwhelmed by all this, and she decides to go stay with her uncle in a small town, and I think it was Maine, for the summer. While there, she starts kind of researching this family mystery, and she gets romantically involved with a guy and then a girl. There's nothing crazy special about it that I can like pinpoint, except I haven't really seen anything like this done before, and I just really enjoyed reading it. The family stuff was good, the family mystery stuff I liked, and I liked the love triangle, and I just really liked this one. Please let me know in the comments if you've read this book and what you thought about it. I don't have a physical copy of it still. I read it on my Kindle. I wish I could take like one of those pictures, you know, people like holding their stack of their favorite books, but almost all of mine I do not have a physical copy of, or if I do have it, it's because I loaned it to somebody. So my thumbnail is going to be kind of lacking. Sorry about that. I haven't been able to loan it to any but my friends to get like opinions from them. So please comment below if you've read this one and let me know what you thought. And then another mystery thriller I really loved was Lock Every Door by Ruth Ware. I've read all the Ruth Ware books now. This one remains my favorite. This is about a woman who has gotten a job as a nanny in this house in Scotland, and it's like super isolated, and it's this smart house with all these like features, and she gets the job, and then very quickly the parents just like leave her alone with the kids and take off somewhere. I'm really sorry about my dogs. I Can't do anything about them, and I've been putting off filming these videos forever, so sorry about the background noise. But anyway, she's alone with these kids in Scotland, and all this weird shit starts happening with the smart house and like the area around it, the animals, like everything just starts going crazy. And I haven't seen anything like this done before. The big reveal twist that of course is in every good mystery thriller completely blindsided me. I was completely shocked by at least one part of the book. I was heartbroken when her follow-up book to this, One by One, was not nearly this good or shocking, but if you're gonna read Ruth Ware, this is the best one, and I think that's most people agree on that. But I don't know if you want to start with it, because then you might not want to read the others. You know, it's kind of all downhill, but this is the best Ruth Ware, one of my top thrillers of the year. Definitely check it out. And then I have a second Riley Sager on here too, because like I had to, I'm sorry. Home Before Dark is my, I'd say, number 8 favorite book. It's a really close call between this one and Lock Every Door for me, which is why I had to include them both. And this one actually came out this year, so that was really fun too. This is about a woman who, when she was a child, her family, they were living in this haunted house, this supposedly haunted house. And then one night they had to flee the house in the middle of the night, and her father wrote this best-selling book about the ghosts that drove them out of this house. When you're going through this book, you're going back and forth between what she, I think her name was Maggie, is present day experiencing, and then chapters of her father's book. You go back and forth, and I really loved the 2 parallel stories. They were both really engrossing and interesting. Her father has recently died, and she just decided that she's going to remodel the house because she's a house flipper and try to sell it for a profit. So she goes back to the house, and then all this like spooky stuff that was in her father's book starts happening to her as well. This one was good. I was spooked by it. I was entertained. I was surprised. It is just a really good mystery thriller. From the description, you're probably thinking it's going to be like exactly like House on Haunted Hill, because there's definitely some similarities in like the basic outline of the premise, but it goes in a really different direction. It's, when you're actually reading the book, they're not similar at all other than that. It's definitely a mystery thriller of the are the ghosts real or not type. It's a slow burn spooky, as opposed to when I talked about the Sundown Motel last month, how that's just like ghost out all of it. This one is, are the ghosts real or not? And you don't know until the very end. So that's my preferred haunted house book setup, or how I like ghosts done in a mystery thriller. And this one just did it like almost flawlessly. So highly recommend this one, as well as Lock Every Door by Riley Sager. And honestly, his other one, The Last Time I Lied, was a 5-star for me too. I just like these 2 better, but Riley Sager's great. And then I also have The One. I had kind of forgotten about this one a little bit because I read it quite a few months ago. This is just a very good page-turning, it's a mystery, sci-fi. It's not quite a no, I'd say it's probably a thriller. But this is about a world where we have developed a DNA test that will match you with your perfect soulmate. You know, it's all voluntary. You don't have to submit your DNA if you don't want to. So say you have one perfect soulmate out there and you've submitted your DNA and they haven't, you don't get matched. You could do it and you get matched to someone that's, you know, in prison for murdering 6 people. You can do it and discover you're not the perfect soulmate match to the person you're already married to. There are dozens of different scenarios here, and basically what this book does is it takes like 5 or 6 of them and tells each of their stories and each of their perspectives and how this system can go wrong or right. It's just an easy, fast-paced, very engrossing read. I think this would be probably one of my top recommendations of the year, because I think a lot of people would enjoy this book. And they are also making a Netflix series out of it that I'm very excited to watch, and I think my husband will enjoy watching with me. So if you've not read this one yet, I would strongly recommend it. It's just a good, easy read, but with some like deeper ideas to think about. So it's got a lot to offer. And then finally, I have The Space Between Worlds. This one I rated 4 stars, and I have other books that I rated 5 stars that I did not put on my top favorites list, because even though they were really good books and they didn't have as many obvious things that I think could be improved on as this one has stayed with me longer. I've thought about this one a lot more. I am really eager, because this was a debut novel, I am really eager to see what this writer does next. This is about a woman, it's sci-fi, which I don't normally read, but it is a sci-fi novel about a woman who can cross over between different alternate universes. And this is another one where the writing is just gorgeous. Like, that's one thing I don't normally like about sci-fi, is I generally find the writing to be a bit dry, and this one is not at all. And if you go back and watch, I don't remember which month, like July maybe? June or July, it was my favorite book. September? Whatever month this was my favorite book. I talk a little bit more about it in detail, but there is a part where I was reading it and I just kind of like I didn't lose interest. I never stopped reading it, but it wasn't like page turning as engrossed as I was. The plot drags a little bit for me, and that's why it was a 4-star instead of a 5. But because this was a debut novel, I really think this author is going to do like great things on her next couple books, and I'm really excited to see it, and I want to reread this book, honestly, because I think about it quite a bit. I want more people to read it and tell me what they think about it. So if you have read it, please leave a comment down below and tell me about it. If not, I recommend that you do. Even if you think to yourself, I'm not really a sci-fi person, this is not a typical sci-fi book for me. Like, the technology and stuff is all sci-fi, and that's, you know, your normal sci-fi book, but the writing is just so like achingly deep and sad, and I just love the writing. The writing style reminds me more of like the Book of Longings or The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. So if you've read either of those and those were good for you, I would recommend trying out this one as well. And that's it. Those are my 10 favorite books of 2020. Do you think I missed any? Leave a comment down below and tell me about it. Please give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Thanks, and I'll see you next time.